Hello folks, welcome to this video. I'm going to show you how to build a causal loop diagram in Vensim. One of the folks in IA, Sam, had asked me about this. She'd taken another course in ISAT with me. My name's Rod McDonald and I teach in ISAT. So I have Vensim PLE open. PLE stands for the Personal Learning Edition and it's free. This is a formal simulation modeling software, but it's great for developing causal loop diagrams. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding variables here. And I'm going to go up to this top left in the menu bar and it says Variable Tools. It says A on it. I'm going to click and I'm going to come down and I'm going to just click in the middle of my page here. And I'm going to label this terrorist group. And by terrorist group, I mean this is the number of people who have joined perhaps a terrorist group is my idea. I've gone up and clicked on the hand, and there's a little handle right here. And there's a invisible box around the variable, so I can just adjust the size of that box by grabbing this handle and moving it. So I've got my first variable. I'm going to add my next variable. I'm going to click on the A again, or for the variable tool. I can come down. I know I want it to be off to the left, right? I have a picture of what I'm doing in my head already. And this is going to be recruiting new terrorist. I put that variable, I'm going to go click on the hand. That box is a pretty good size. I'm just going to grab, make it a little bigger. Now that the hand's selected, I can click on my mouse and hold down the left key and just move it around to where I want. And I'm arguing causality with these causal loop diagrams, right? That's what the term causal means. So I'm going to go up to this arrow icon up above. I'm going to be right on top of recruiting new terrorists. I'm going to click once. It's generating this arrow. I'm going to go about halfway and I'm going to click one more time. It's going to put a little bit of a curve in it. And then I'm going to go down and click on terrorist. And I'm arguing that this blue line here, this arrow, is a causal link. And that the variable at the tail is causing the variable at the head to change in some way. And this is just a heuristic. You're only going to do it not one time, but this is the thing that most people sort of get stuck on. What I want to ask is, if recruiting new terrorists increased, which direction would people in my terrorist group go? Would there be more people or would there be fewer people? So if recruiting new terrorists increased, what would happen to the terrorist new group? Would it be larger or smaller? And I think we could all agree that it's going to be larger. We're recruiting people and they're coming in, so my terrorist group is going to get larger. It's moving in the same direction. I want to put a plus sign on this link to indicate it's moving in the same direction. I'm going to go to this handle in the middle of my arrow and I'm going to right click with my mouse and it is going to open this and I'm going to go down and it says polarity marking. And I can click on this drop-down menu and I can put a plus sign on there and I can click close. I'll go up to my hand and I'll click and you can see there's a plus sign now at the head indicating it's moving in the same direction. Now, for example, if recruiting new terrorists went down, all other things held equal, the people in my terrorist group would be fewer than they would have been. And this is the causality that we're going to be arguing. So I have established that link and I can start thinking of what is the next link I want to add. And it seems as though people in my terrorist group would actually recruit new terrorists. They're the ones who are going out and advertising. This could be a professional fraternity, and it would be members of that fraternity who would recruit new members. It could be people in the IA program recruiting new students into the IA program. I'm going to go up and click on my arrow tool. I'm going to be right on top of the terrorist group. I'm going to click once. I'm going to go down and click again. And then I'm going to go and click on my recruiting new terrorists. So move that into the middle. And now I'm going to right click. I'm going to ask, now if terrorist increased, all other things being held constant, which direction would recruiting new terrorists be? So my pool of people who can recruit for me has increased. So I should be able to recruit additional people. All other things being held equal, right? So I'm going to right click on this. It's moving in the same direction. Move this up. I'm going to go and it's going to be a plus sign. And I'm just going to click close. If I go to my hand, you can see the plus sign will then show up. I have closed a feedback loop at this point. Now I can label this feedback loop. This is a reinforcing feedback loop in that when it gets moving in one direction, it will continue to move in the same direction. And I'm going to label this. I'm going to go up to my comment tool up here in my top menu bar and click on that. I'm going to click in the middle, and I'm going to label this R1 for reinforcing 1 for now. It says here for my alignment center, good. Shape is clear box. What I want to do is I can put in a loop, and I'd like the loop to be in the same direction as the arrows are. So this should be my loop clockwise, and now I can make this smaller. And now I have my R1 feedback loop. Click on my hand, click on the white spot, and I have my first feedback loop, and I've gone through that. But this system's a little more complex than this, so I'm going to add additional variables. I'm going to go up to my variable tool and click on that, and go over to the right, and they're going to be losing terrorist. And I've put that variable in. I'm going to go up and click on my arrow, and if my terrorist group increases, it's going to influence the losing terrorists. Think of this as a population, that the larger the population gets, the more people could be leaving for whatever reason. I was looking at the human population. If there are more humans, all other things held equal, there would be more people dying just because the population is larger. So if my terrorist group increases, that's that heuristic again, terrorist group increases, what's going to happen to my losing terrorist? It's going to move in the same direction. So I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to go down, and it's also going to be a plus. I'll click close, click on my hand. I'll click on the arrow key right now. Oh, let's see, click on the hand. I guess I have to click on the white space, and then it will show up. I have a plus. If I'm losing terrorists, the number of people in my terrorist group should be influenced. There's a feedback there. So I'm clicking on the arrow key. I'm going to click on losing terrorist. I'm going to go down about halfway and click, and then I'm going to go to my terrorist group. I'll put this in the middle. And if losing terrorist increases, more people are dying or leaving the group, then my terrorist group, all their things being held constant, would decrease. I'm going to put a negative sign onto this. So it's going to be a minus. I'm going to hit close. And now I have a second feedback loop here. And I'm going to grab on this hand right here and or this handle, just open that a little bit larger so it looks a little bit cleaner. Try to make these so they're somewhat equal. And now I want to label this loop. I'm going to go up to my comments again, click on comments, click here. And this is going to be a balancing feedback loop. There's one negative sign. If you have an odd number of negative signs in a feedback loop, it will be balancing. So I'm going to make this B1. And center is fine, clear box. And this is also going clockwise, loop clockwise. And I will click OK, and then I will make this smaller. And I'll go through this a few times, and then what I'll start doing is just copying and pasting this and then changing the information in it. So I have two feedback loops now, and I'm going to start adding additional things into this. And let me click, I'm going to go up and click on my variable tool again. I'm going to click up here, and this is going to be terrorist actions. And let me click on my hand. I'm going to make the box just a little bit bigger by default. And I'm going to say that the terrorist group, they exist for a purpose, they want to do something, that they are going to take actions. So if my terrorist groups or people in it increases, all other things being held constant, I would assume that I could have more terrorist actions. So it's moving in the same direction, so it's going to get a plus sign. So I'm going to click on this, my polarity. I'm going to click on the plus, and I will close that. And now I have more terrorist actions. And if I have more terrorist actions, One of the things that I would anticipate is going to happen is that they could be blowing things up or taking risks that they're going to lose terrorists from these actions. So I'm going to click on my arrow key, click right on the terrorist, go terrorist actions, go halfway, click, and then go down to losing terrorist. And if terrorist actions increase, losing terrorist would also increase. So it is moving in the same direction. I'm going to right click and go down and select my polarity, which is a plus. And now I have closed yet another feedback loop. And when I trace this one around, this is a second balancing feedback loop. I'll go up to my comments and click. Now this will be B2. B2, and center's fine, and this is still going a little clockwise, a little too large, so I'm going to click on the handle and adjust this. Try to make these all similar sizes, and I have my second feedback loop here. Now, something else is going to be happening is that if I have terrorist actions, I'm going to have efforts to suppress terrorist actions by the United States or by some other country or whoever the terrorists are going against. I'm going to go up and click on my variable, and I'm going to click down here, and this is going to be efforts to suppress terrorists. And make this box just a little bit bigger. There we go. And terrorist actions, something happens, a World Trade Center, something like that, then there is going to be effort to suppress these terrorist actions. I have gone down, so if terrorist actions increase, then efforts are also going to increase. So this is going to be a plus. So I'm going to go down and put my plus sign. But in this case, I don't think it would happen instantaneously, right? It's going to take time to react. I believe that there's going to be a delay in this system. So I'm going to go down and click on this delay mark for now. And I'm going to hit close. And what you see is there's a double hashtag there. And this indicates that there's a delay, that it takes time for things to happen, for the efforts to suppress terrorists are going to take time. I am going to click on the hand and go up and just move this up a little bit, because I know if there's efforts to suppress terrorists, I could be capturing or maybe killing terrorists. So I've clicked on the arrow key, I've gone halfway, I'm going to click, and if these efforts increase, then losing terrorists would also increase. I'll go to the handle and right click. This is going to be another plus. I'm going to click close. And there I go. And now I have closed yet another feedback loop going terrorist, terrorist actions, efforts to suppress, losing terrorists, back to the groups. So it is yet another balancing feedback loop. I could go up into the comments. I expect that you know how to do this now. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on my hand. I'm going to click on the B2. I'm going to right click. Well, maybe not. I am going to copy. So I'm hitting Command C on my Mac, and then Command V to paste. I'm going to tell it to replicate. And it's another B2. The loop's going the same way. And now I'm going to right click on this. Instead of being B2, I will make this B3. So I have yet another feedback loop. One of the challenges with terrorism, I believe, and I'm telling a story here. You don't have to agree with my story. You don't have to agree with the variable names that I have selected. They could be different. And I, anyways, am comfortable with that. You're telling a story. It needs to be using the language that you are comfortable with or that your clients are comfortable with. What I would bet, and my experience has taught me, is that oftentimes when we're looking at the same problem, reading the same materials, and analyzing the same thing, we tend to be drawing the same feedback loops. There could be intervening variables. We could use different variable names to a degree, but the feedback loops are the same. And the causal loop diagrams actually represent a way of getting our mental models out of our heads and onto the paper and starting to be a little bit more explicit about things so that others can challenge us. And it's not so much as it's a challenge about right and wrong. It's a challenge about clarification. Are we really talking about the same thing? So I think that's one of the important things that comes out of the development of these causal loop diagrams. So in my mental model, I have this idea that when they lose terrorists, that there are going to be terrorist martyrs to the cause. And that when we go in and we could be killing someone, that they become martyrs. And I'm going to grab on this and just open it up a little bit more. And if you're losing terrorists, the terrorist martyrs to the cause, all other things being held constant is going to increase. I'm going to right-click on the handle of the arrow, move this up. I'm going to click on the plus sign because it's moving in the same direction. And I am going to close that loop. And if there are more martyrs to the system, I could see that we're going to have terrorist zeal. I'm going to click on my arrow key. I'm going to click halfway and click and go there. I want to make this, whoops. Let's see, I've landed right on my handle for that variable name. And I've adjusted that. I'll adjust this. So if the terrorist martyrs to the cause is increased, there's going to be more zeal, right? More attractive. It's people will be more willing to join, is what it is. So I'm going to right-click, and based on that, I can see this is moving in the same direction. So I'm going to give this a plus sign. Okay. And if there is more zeal, I'll click on my arrow key. I could see that that is going to allow me to recruit more terrorists. So I'm using my arrow key to connect terrorist zeal to the recruitment of new terrorists. And I will click on the plus, or it's going to be a plus. It's moving in the same direction. I'm going to go down to polarity markings and click the plus. And here's one of the other things. I don't have to put this is the color of the arrowhead. I should be able to move, down here, the position. So in this case, maybe I don't want my plus to be up here. I can click on this and say, put it on the handle on the outside, close. I'll click on my hand, click in, and you can see that the plus sign is now next to the handle. And I could put the handle towards the top, but just one more way of doing this. I have now closed, let's see, I've got from here to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. That's another reinforcing feedback loop. I could run up to terrorist actions, to losing, to martyrs. That's even yet another reinforcing feedback loop. Or I could go around the outside, and that's yet. So by closing this one link, I have added 3 additional feedback loops is what's occurring, right? So I am going to do that, and they're all reinforcing feedback loops. They're building on themselves, or whatever direction they're moving, they're going to continue to move in the same direction. So I'm just going to right-click on this. I'm going to command or copy. I'm going to paste, tell to replicate. So I'm going to right-click on this to open this up until this is going to be R2, I believe. I'm going to close. And now, so the R2, let me say that the R2 is going to be going from recruiting to terrorists to losing to terrorist martyrs, terrorist zeal back here. Now I want one through terrorist actions. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to replicate, and this is going to be 3. I'm going to right-click, and I'll make this reinforcing feedback 3. And now, I have it going through the effort to suppress the losing terrorist, right? So now I'm going to have an R4. So I'm going to go down. I've got it selected, copy, paste, replicate, and R4. I'm right-clicking. I'm going to make it 4. One of the things that should be going on with this type of stuff too is I should be labeling these feedback loops so we know which ones they are, and I should do it for all of them. I am not going to do that. What I'll do for now is I'm just going to copy the R2, copy and paste, and I'm just going to put it, I'll put it down here. I think I have space. I'm going to right-click. I am going to get rid of the loop clockwise and just tell it to be none. Okay, let's see what I get. Get a little box there. And then I can go up to my comments. And the R2 is going to be, I'm just going to label this my martyrs loop. Martyrs loop. And the idea is that I should be labeling my feedback loop so I know which ones I'm talking about. And I can even do this differently. I'm going to do the next one a little bit differently. I'm just going to click on my comments and come down here. I'm going to put it all in the comments. So this is going to be my R3. Oops, make it capitalized. R3, I'm going to make it equal to, and then I am going to write the description in. So this is terrorist action martyrs. I'll click close, and then I will adjust this. Oh, I'm missing the R. I'm going to right click on this again. I got rid of that. Put a capital R in there for my reinforcing feedback loop 3. Close this. And now I think this is the way to do it. I like this key better than what I have done up here. And now I've got the R4, which is going to come through actions to suppress. I'm going to go up to my comments, and I'm going to click. And this is going to be R4, reinforcing feedback loop 4. Whoops, 4, equal to. And this is going to be martyrs from suppression. And I'll just grab on this and open this up. And you'd really want all these feedback loops, ideally, should be labeled so that it's clear what you are talking about. And think of the story that the Martyrs from Suppression is telling, right? That we go out and take actions to suppress terrorism, and yet that's providing them, we're making martyrs, providing them with zeal, which allows them to recruit new terrorists into the system. And I'm just going to add, well, let me do one other thing. I go up to the trash can here. I want to delete this. I don't like the way I've made this. I like the martyrs loop, but I don't want this. I'm going to click on this, and now I'll go up to my comments. So the trash is just deleting it. And now I'm going to open this up, and now I can just put the R2 in front of this and the equal sign, and this stuff should start lining up. I'll grab the handle, and all of a sudden I have a legend over here that I can start putting in for my feedback loops for the story that I'm telling. And I'm just going to add a few more variables to here. One of the things that I think may be occurring is that there's going to be terrorists gaining peripheral support. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then if there is much more zeal, is going to connect. And so I've gone out, I've clicked on the arrow key, I've gone about part of the way where I want the bend to be, and now I've connected these. And if the zeal increases, peripheral support. In my mind, this is saying that, you know, they're not going to tell on people if they know they're terrorists. Maybe they provide money or food or some type of support is what it is. So now I'm going to right click on the handle. It's going to move in the same direction. It's going to be a plus. Okay with that. Click on my handle, click on here, and there I go. And then maybe this leads to terrorist funding specifically. And if there's more peripheral support, all things held constant, there would be more funding. This is going to receive a plus sign. I'm okay there. And then if I have efforts to suppress, there probably would be interference with terrorist funding, as I imagine what international organizations are doing. And you might notice I cannot spell. And there is no, I believe there's two R's in interfering. And efforts to suppress are going to influence interfering. And if there are more efforts to suppress, then one of the things we're going to do besides going after the physical people would be to interfere with their networks, is my argument here. So it's going to be moving in the same direction. It's going to get a plus. And that this would interfere with terrorist funding. So if interfering with terrorist funding increases, terrorist funding would move in the opposite direction. It would go down. It's going to be a minus sign. And if I interfere with their funding, hopefully I'm going to reduce their actions. They're not going to be able to afford to do anything. So I'm going to connect the arrow to that. And if funding increases, so remember, even though I've said this link is going down, I'm always asking if the tail increases, what happens to the head? It's going to move in the same direction, and it's going to be a plus. And now I've again closed a number of other feedback loops here. So I've got one that's running from terrorist to terrorist actions to efforts to suppress to interfering with the funding to terrorist funding. And that is a balancing feedback loop. Move these things around to try to make it look a little bit more elegant. And so it's going to be a balancing. So I'm up to B3, so this will be my B4. I'll click on my hand. I'll select this, copy, paste, replicate, go up here, right click, and this will be my B4 feedback loop. And I have that, and let's see, now that I've closed this feedback loop, it's running through this. So I've got yet another reinforcing feedback loop here. I got the R5. I'm going to click on my R4 and copy, paste, replicate, and I'm going to have right click. It's going to be an R5. And so the R5, I said, is running this way. And now I have one more running through these efforts to suppress. That could be my R6. Oops, let me copy. I'm messing up now. Copy, paste, replicate, and right click. And this is going to be R6. I'm not going to take the time to label all of these, but you should label all of these. And think from the simple diagram, I have 6 reinforcing feedback loops. I have 4 balancing feedback loops. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. Just going to show you 1 or 2 more things. Maybe I wanted to bring a particular emphasis to just one of these feedback loops in the story I'm telling. I could go in and right click on this, and I could click on the solid line. Let's see, I'm going to go click on default color. I'm going to click on my colors. I'm going to make it red so that it stands out. And I could even make it thicker, right? Excuse me. And I would follow this around the feedback loop and do the same thing. Excuse me. Didn't make this thick. I think I want to be consistent with the things that I do is one of the keys. And I'm going to right click, take the default. So there are a variety of things you can do to do storytelling. I'll make one more video for you folks. And I will right click on this, default, make it red. And you may come up with different ways of putting colors in. That's fine too. I know that I selected solid thickness 2, close. Oh, maybe I didn't pick solid thickness 2 here. There we go. Close. And now I can select this out. There are ways of hiding and revealing information. I'll show that in a different video. My variable names, feel free to change. I know Dr. Hendrickson has specific rules and is much better than I am at explaining those and the causal links and the proper use of nouns and verbs and the variable names. I may have broken some of those. My opinion is it's really about the storytelling. You want to be able to tell a compelling storytelling. There are rules. You should be following those rules. Hopefully you find this helpful. I'm happy to help anyone who is working on causal loop diagrams to either look at them or talk about them. And particularly if you have questions about Vensim and sort of how to use Vensim, I am more than happy to talk to you about that type of stuff. I think it's great that you folks are doing this. I think this is extremely important in intelligence analysis. I think it's a great way of getting at people's mental models and being explicit. I wish you luck. Thanks and bye.